Hey family, one love, what's up? What's up, what's up? Jesse Tree here. Hope you're having a beautiful day. I'm having a beautiful day. Just working in the garden, working on my Airbnb stuff today and herbalism stuff. Today is our usual juicing with Jesse. We're going to make a recipe and I want to talk with y'all about the sugar diet, 80-10-10, raw food, and breatharianism from the perspective of Hilton Hotema. But first, I wanted to take you into the garden here and show you some of my favorite herbs of the season. Greetings, Sonia Becker, what's up? Wait for people to come on here, and in the meantime, I'm going to share with you, hopefully you can see that. This is the male flower of a pinon pine, and you could see maybe when I flick it, there's a waft of pinon pollen. Hey, Nabiha, one love, sister. Great to see you. You're welcome to join if you want. Have some subjects I'm kind of hoping to hit on, but I'd love to connect. Been a while. Anyway, so right here I got pine pollen, and see, pine's a wonderful herb. You can make wonderful vitamin C rich tea out of the needles, also high in terpenes. Both of which are going to be good for your digestion and your respiration as well as your cognition, because there's neuroplasticizers in the terpenes, but they also have an affinity for, digestion and respiration. The pine pollen itself is a complete food, so it has like amino acids, it has vitamins, minerals, everything you really need. And it's one of the few plant androgens, so especially for men, maybe a lot of men are using testosterone replacement therapy as they're getting into their middle age, and because testosterone is tanking, you can use pine pollen. And then women can use, or all men and women can use the tincture of pine pollen to balance the vignette of progesterone, testosterone, and estrogen. So, which is, we're all kind of being attacked on the level of our endocrine system with things like glyphosate and atrazine and plastics and polyesters and so much stuff. So that pine pollen's great. And you can also use the nuts from the pine. So that's a great thing. Just a quick little tour of the food forest. Got lots of pears here coming. I don't know if you can see all these pears popping. New wonderful juice soon. And yeah, the garden's waking up. Over here we got this beautiful false indigo, which is just a nitrogen fixer, but has these beautiful purple blossoms that smell nice, really attract bees. And we have things like the hairy vetch here, which builds soil as nitrogen fixers, but also good for bees. And you can eat the peas, you can eat the flowers. Yeah, we've finally had some rain here, and we've had the acequia like 4 or 5 times. So things are greening up a little bit. Right here are my goji berry plants. So they're just beginning to flower. Let's see here. Here's one flower. So those will become goji berries. And we got jujube here. And currant. The currant is going bananas. Just totally rocking with little currant fruits. I have difficulty working them into my liquidarian diet anymore, but I juice the apples. This is a pecan, hardy pecan. I'll make nut milks. I also have a hardy almond here. So I have peaches and apples and pears and apricots and almonds, things, nice fruits to make my juices and stuff from. This you can maybe kind of see here, this area. This is my annual garden bed. You can barely see them coming, but there's little dill plants and cilantro and watermelon. I planted a ton of melons, watermelon, cantaloupe, and we also have some red corn from my friend Sunbird, kabocha squashes, and so just a quick little tour of the garden to share my part of my passion, my purpose with permaculture. Back behind me here, we got sea buckthorn. So those fruits are, you can use them in skincare products, and they'll help your body produce stem cells. So a lot of people use it for beauty products, but you can also use them internally for the sort of the health aspects of youth and longevity. Fun stuff. So just thought I'd share a little bit of that. Maybe I'll share just a quick moment of my project up here with my Airbnb and this Mongolian yurt we're going to be setting up. It's been a long process. It's like a year just going through planning and zoning and permitting and financing, all that, and then more time to just gather the money, gather the supplies. I ended up making a bunch of it out of pallets. So the base is made out of pallets. There's not much to see right now. It's covered in plastic because we're expecting rain, and I just got this nice new wood, so I want to keep it all pristine. But this whole thing is built out of pallets, and a little bit of good wood and plywood and stuff. So that made the cost from up around $17,000 down to like $2,000. So that's been fun, but there's of course all my sweat equity going into that. But that's where we'll have our Mongolian yurt for retreat space events, for doing classes and chronic retreats, and for our Airbnb. People can come stay in this beautiful place, and we'll have some education and some hospitality aspects on our glamping permaculture farm, sort of educational center. I've always felt like this is sort of a school. So anyway, thanks for humoring me, family. Glad to see you're all still here. Oh, Nabiha, let's see. I waved at her. It looked like I got a signal that she might want to join, but looks like she's not available right now. So anyway, I want to talk just momentarily with you. I'm going to keep this short for everybody. I want to value your time and mine, but on the subject of the sugar diet and this Doug Graham's 80-10-10, the raw food diet, Hilton Hotema, and breatharianism, because it's just, it has come clear to me, it's always been clear to me that Hilton Hotema was really astute in understanding nutrition, probably better than anyone. He and folks like Dr. Arnold Ehret, there's been many. Doug Graham, Dr. Robert Morse, Dr. Sebi, all these people have changed the lives of thousands upon thousands of people for the better, reversed chronic diseases, did all manner of miraculous work through nutritional therapy. And it's just one of my passions. Even though I aspire to the breatharian lifestyle, that I think it's important to designate that it's really about health. And it's one of the main reasons why I wanted to jump on and talk about this today, is because on the one hand we have the diet wars, on the other hand we have orthorexic people, anorexic people, bulimic people, people with eating disorders, people trying to heal emotionally, physically, latching on philosophically to something, making their health imbalanced. And I feel it's my duty and my passion and purpose to help guide people to, approach health and wellness from a balanced perspective. There was a really great live by my friend. Check him out on Instagram, Abundant Yogi, with Chris Kendall, where they dove into, sort of the fruitarian diet and fruitarian myths, something that really relates to Hilton Hotema and breatharianism. Hilton Hotema, if you're unfamiliar with him, he wrote A Man's Higher Consciousness. His time was like, earlier in the, like 1920, 30, 40, 50s, I think, was about his timing. He was very much into nutrition, fruitarian, and claimed, knowledge about our ancient heritage as breatharians, that at one time we all lived from the ethers. This stuff is backed up more and more by science as we're starting to understand the nature of, mitochondrial function with respect to light, how, there's been research, for instance, on people living near the coast having iodine levels that are higher than people inland because they are absorbing rotting seaweed that is in the air. So our bodies do absorb. If you think about how much we consume that we eat versus how much we breathe in volume, we breathe far more. And so this fine particulate matter, even pollen coming in, like the pine pollen I was showing you earlier, these things can actually supply us with a modicum of nutrition. And that the whole pranic journey, from my understanding, experience, perspective, training, etc., is that we are energy beings in a sea of energy. So we're trying to get our bodies to be, the mitochondria, to be more intelligent, more resilient, more sensitive and adaptive. We're trying to also do the same things with our sort of mental, emotional, spiritual selves, so that we are not reactive and operating from reactivity to negative, afflictive emotions. It's this whole thing of breatharianism is so much more than not eating, and a lot of people in the space focus on that, and I think that's kind of a prescription for more of this orthorexic, anorexic, behavior, because we don't want to be restrictive. Being restrictive is the way to eating disorders. We want to be abundant. We want to be energetically abundant, health-wise abundant. Hey there's Catherine. What's up, sister? Much love. And Claire, you 2024 sound is low. Oh, okay. Let me see. I'll try to get closer and speak up. I'm soft-spoken, so anyway. So the Hilton Hotema thing, he breaks it down as man was originally breatharians, living in pristine air, in the ways yogis do in high mountain places, where they're able to breathe this rarefied oxygen and develop themselves, and that this is just part of our natural state, which I totally believe in, and then from there human beings started to explore with water and fruit, and from there on down through to vegetable matter and into animal products and etc. And this was essentially the fall from grace in a way that and it's definitely the case in my experience that what I consume, this has always been my experience, is mind altering. Whether it's orange or like cannabis or whatever, it's going to alter your consciousness, because your part of your subconscious mind is your body. So everything your body has to process is mind altering. So there's all these levels to that, and then you get into people like Dr. Doug Graham, who's been raw fruitarian for 47 years. He got into it as an athlete because he was just looking for performance enhancement, and he looked into the athletic science, into the research science, into the data on blue zone areas, and the ratios of macros that people ate, and he found that the ranges for all of them were between, for fat, it was between like 3 and 13%. For protein, it was between like 5 and like 18 or 19%, I think. And then the rest was all carbs, right? So he thought, a good safe range would be 10 fat, 10 protein, and by default, the rest is carbs. So simple carbs like fruit are more readily absorbed by the cells, and everything that we eat, whether it's fat or protein or any complex carbs, simple carbs, they are all transmuted by our body into sugars, by the mitochondria into ATP, so that we can, it's prana. This is also prana. There's, the electric, abundant prana everywhere that you can cultivate and attenuate into. But you got to start with physical prana, and there's higher and lower forms of this prana. So these tend to have the electrolytes, so that's going to electrify in terms of prana. It's going to have the exclusion zone H3O2 water that's going to develop, that body battery, because there's a positive charge on one side, negative charge on the other. It's going to have the minerals and stuff that cause that conductivity. So, and it's going to astringe and cleanse. And the problem with the fats and the proteins is like what Freely the Banana Girl calls like lipid lock, where fats or lipids or proteins and their byproducts, which are basically pee and poo, are surrounding or inside of the cell, and so they can't absorb sugar, but the cell uses sugar preferentially, so it'll take it on anyways. And that's why people get overweight, is they become metabolically unhealthy because their bodies, and according to Hilton Hotema, there's something called the body's vital adjustment. This is why some people are healing on keto, some people are eating on carnivore, some people are eating on fruitarian, because your body is so intelligent that it can adapt to whatever source you give it. But there's what you can adapt to, and there's what's ideal for your electromagnetic, sort of spiritual nature. So, if your body's locked up with lipids and proteins and uric acid and stuff, then you can't readily use this stuff. It all just becomes an accumulation physically, and that's where fat is put on, uric acid develops, people start to get diabetic, they get gout, etc., because there's not this sensitivity. So what the sugar diet is what a lot of people are doing now, are sugar fasting, which is literally like cane sugar. And a lot of the proponents will, and some of them are fruitarians, suggest, of course, preferentially using fruits and fruit juices, and that's what I would suggest if you're interested in this. But also cane sugar. I thought cane sugar was terrible. I found out, I thought it was acidic because it's, rancified, it's, highly processed and it rancifies, and but turns out its pH is neutral. It's exactly neutral, so that aligns with the alkaline electric sort of principles. It's an equal balance of sucrose and fructose, so your body, knows how to work with those simple sugars. And there's people in like the carnivore space and that have healed all kinds of psoriasis and all manner of stuff by doing a largely fruit diet and then doing meats or lean meats. So I want to put that out there for anyone out there who is leaning on animal products. You could still use principles, of fruitarianism to up your health. And that's kind of the order, like I kind of put that in the wrong way. Hilton Hotema says breatharianism, water, liquidarianism, fruitarianism, then actually meat before things like vegetables and grains. That doesn't vibe with me in terms of my values, but we're talking about health for the broadest amount of people possible, right? So that's why people who are Native American or others, have robust health, who've lived in that way. It's less and less. More and more people are leaning on Walmart foods and living in food deserts, and hard to get access to ancestral foods. But that's why they were lean and strong and healthy. It wasn't like that was like what they ate all the time. It was mostly fruits and nuts and seeds, and then the occasional meat. And blue zones, that's the same thing across the earth, mostly vegetarian, a little bit of meat. So you can do that in a vegan way, and you just use your protein as through vegan sources. That's all, and it's just your preference. So throw that out there. That's the body's vital adjustment. It's a ability to that's why you can get addicted to opiates, and if you just take yourself right off it, you'll die. You have to wean yourself off, and the same process as we're weaning our way away from processed foods or meats or whatever it is that you feel is personally dragging your spirit, body, and energy down. You're gonna want to curtail not by restrictive measures, but by additional measures. So subtraction by addition. You wanna eat less processed foods, keep them out of your house, keep fruit and whole foods around your house, and then you just won't have it available. Creating an environment. There's ways, and that's what I go to in my coaching. So if you want to hook up with me on coaching at any point, I would welcome that. I'd be glad. It's my purpose and passion to help you heal and achieve your highest, and all the way to the realms of breatharian. But that breatharian word, we have to it is something that has to do with our breath. It has to do with the openness of the body and its ability to breathe in these minerals and nutrients and the prana itself, and our mental accumulations as well as our physical accumulations affect. So both affect one another, and so we can use diet and lifestyle, meditation, qigong, sun gazing, fasting, all those things, to try to work both ends. Catherine says, I'm playing with all this, but not able to do mostly fruit yet. Fat, it turns out, is not what this body needed to stop sugar crashes. It was vegan protein that stopped it. I'm working towards mostly fruit. Yeah, and that's the thing to do. Excellent, Catherine. Cheers. That's the thing to do, is just follow your body's inner wisdom. Your body is this extremely sensitive biochemical, electrical laboratory, and everything that you absorb through your eyes, your nose, your mouth, your pores, you feel it, and you know your body. You're your best doctor because you feel your body from the inside out, and you know what you're experiencing. So that's something David Wolf put forth, and some of the other raw foodists is you can adjust those balances of fat, protein, and carbs appropriately to the day and your needs. Don't think in a fixated way. Those fixated ways, and that's why I'm trying to break up and talk more about this idea of breatharianism, because I see this as just natural health. There's just different levels that we're becoming more aware of, and eventually it can lead to extremely long life, no illness, no need for food. But we should fall in love with the practice and the journey, and not fixate on the end result or any of the restrictive factors, because that's what does us a mischief on everything we do as human beings. It's that fixation, that's the attachment, and you're attaching to something that you have a preconceived idea about. And I remember Elitom hit me up. He came here and taught me, and I'd already been way deep into the breatharian path. I was already liquiditarian at that point. He came and he asked me, well, why do you want to be a breatharian anyway? And I hadn't ever really thought of it. Why do you want to be a breatharian? I ask you that if you're interested. What is it? For me, I had to meditate on it for a while. I kind of understood. I was just pulled to it, and that's what mostly we run by as humans. I was just like, wow, this is like amazing. But ultimately, it's hard. It's very isolating. It's very restrictive. It's very different. So it's you feel kind of weird, honestly. And so overcoming those challenges, you have to have like a why. And I realize for me, it's about freedom, and it's about some of my deeper spiritual goals. And the food thing, I moved a little bit too fast on when I got into, raw foods and stuff. It was like this whole level up. My whole being brightened up, my whole life, my energy, my finances, everything, and breatharian was like another level of that. But, I'm being liquidarian now for 8 years and dry fasting for, 3. I'm feeling just that pressure of the constriction, the restriction, and ready to just play more. So I'm exploring with the sugar diet thing, because one of its things is if you do, fruit juice or, honey or things like that for the first part of your day, and end by midday or like, 1 or 2 or something, and that last meal could be proteins, it could be fats, complex carbs, whatever. Then what that does is essentially gives your cells the opportunity to burn just off sugar, and it makes them more insulin sensitive. People have been saying that it's going to make you more diabetic and everything, but these people you're watching their A1C numbers go down as they're eating sugar. I'm like, so but it makes sense in this thought of the body's vital adjustment, that if you give yourself carbs, your body is a incredibly wise machine, will make the best out of that. Catherine says, I've thought about that a lot, thanks to you. It is the path back to my true identity / nature. Yes. I mean, I've been really digging into Dzogchen, a branch of sort of Tibetan Buddhism, which the whole practice is just to relax and to remember that you are perfect as you are, your original nature. Like, think of you when you were a newborn child. Is there any judgment you can cast on yourself? I don't think so. Like, if you really look, if you were a sweet, innocent, perfect being, and that you still are, it's just our thoughts that tangle us up. So it's our thoughts that accumulate and the foods that accumulate in our body that influence our behavior. And so that's why I'm passionate about like this journey and sharing juicing and all these things. Oh, dog farted, sorry. Didn't mean to bring you in on that, but I just took a big breath of it. Oh, kind of like burning my nose. The sugar diet thing, I think it's legitimate. I think it relates to this 80-10-10 thing. A lot of people, I think, are kind of going about it the wrong way by leaning on things like candy, which are full of like crazy dyes and all manner of junk, and soda, and like, but they are also experiencing results, that are impacting their health in positive ways in terms of losing weight, and just losing weight alone increases your chances of not having diabetes, heart attack, like all of the major cancer, major debilitating diseases are often conjoined, with overweight. So I'm going to start working in some sugar fasting 1 or 2 days a week probably during the days that I'm working in the garden, because that's honestly, I've been dry fasting and I'll be working in a garden. I'll be like 22 hours dry fasted, like moving rocks around and kind of dizzy and like and so it would probably help me, and I'll just take some coconut water and a couple spoons of honey, in the rising, and it will increase the FGF1 similar to fasting does. It increases this metabolic, insulin sensitivity. So Peace with Juice says Shred City. Yeah, people are getting shredded. Most of these people, are from the carnivore and keto community that are moving to a more fruit-based lifestyle because just like Dr. Doug Graham found this proportion of 80-10-10, and you're doing mostly carbs, and those are coming from good plant sources, then that's like the best energy for prana. That's the best electricity for the cell. That's the stuff. Glucose. Sugar fast right to skeleton town. I've seen a few people too skinny, but I've seen that with fruitarians too. And that's where, don't get hung up dogmatically as a fruitarian that everything has to be fruit. Eat some greens, eat some nuts. Like, don't be shy. Like that guy who just died, Mango. Fruitarian guy, been doing it for decades. Really stalwart purist. And I've got that streak in me. So I have to be cautious about it, and remember to be open up and be flexible. So I'm gonna play with some sugar fasting and just see what it's like, see if that helps me with work. So just wanted to share that stuff with you. The changes going on with me. So, if you're interested in doing a coaching call, we're not doing any classes this month too. I wanted to just shout out because we're doing one for a forest school this week. And then it's my wife and my anniversary, and then she's going to Tulum. So we just aren't going to have availability this month. But stay with us, family. If you're here next month, we'll be doing, foraging, cob building, all our usual stuff. If you're interested in checking out our newsletter, you can go to our website, ziapermaculture.com, and sign up, and get heads up on events. Eventually, I'll be doing some pranic, as I get the Airbnb up, pranic retreats here, and herbalism retreats and permaculture retreats more. So anyway, hey, there's my brother, Etheric Lifestyle. Yeah, thank you. This is my friend. He says, love the butterfly. My friend Marshall is a skateboarder and artist, and he makes t-shirts, and this is like a hemp t-shirt with a cool butterfly. So I'll let him know you like it. All right, family. Hope you got something from this. I'm going to make my juice. Have a blessed day. One love.